My name is Officer Dana Wells, and for most of my career, I lived and breathed by one simple creed. Rules keep you safe. Rules keep you sane. They were the steel bars of my own making, the lines I never crossed, until the day Harper Lane walked into my life wearing an orange jumpsuit and a look in her eyes that made me question every rule ID ever followed. It started like any other day at the Women's Correctional Facility. A guard transfer had me assigned to a new block, and the warden's briefing was short and to the point. Cell 23, inmate Harper Lane. She's clever, manipulative, keep a close eye on her. His words were a warning, but they couldn't prepare me for her. When I first saw her, she was perched on her bunk, sketching in a small, worn notebook. As I approached, her eyes lifted to meet mine. They were a startling shade of green, sharp and almost teasing. A slow smirk spread across her face. New face, she said, her voice a low hum. Guess I'm lucky today. I refused to take the bait, keeping my voice clipped and professional. Quiet hours start in 5 minutes? Lane? She just grinned, a flash of white in the dim cell. Yes, ma'am. But there was something about her confidence, the way she owned the small space she was confined to, that stuck with me long after I walked away. It was unsettling. Over the next few weeks, I watched Harper. She wasn't like the others. She was a ghost in the system, keeping to herself, her nose always buried in a book from the prison library. I saw her helping new inmates navigate the confusing, often terrifying first few days. She had a quiet strength that defied her circumstances. One afternoon, a fight broke out in the yard. Shouts and curses echoed off the concrete walls. When I got there, I saw Harper shielding another, much smaller prisoner from a barrage of fists. I broke it up, of course, but not before I saw the dark bruise already forming on Harper's cheek. Later, in the infirmary, I dabbed antiseptic on the cut above her eye. You could have been seriously hurt, I told her, my voice harsher than I intended. She met my gaze, her own surprisingly clear. I've been hurt worse, she replied quietly. At least this time, I was fighting for someone else. And just like that, a crack appeared in the wall I'd built around myself. For the first time, I didn't just see an inmate, I saw a person. I found myself wanting to know her story, to understand the woman behind the prison number. My resolve began to fray at the edges. One evening during my rounds, I found her sitting by the cell bars, that little notebook open on her lap. The question slipped out before I could stop it. What do you draw? She hesitated for a beat, a flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. Then she pushed the paper through the bars towards me. My breath caught in my throat. It was a portrait of me. It wasn't just a likeness. She'd captured something I didn't even know was there. You have kind eyes, she said, her voice barely a whisper, even when you try to hide it. I should have reprimanded her, written her up for contraband, for insolence. Instead, I felt a blush creep up my neck. In that moment, I wasn't Officer Wells, the enforcer of rules. I was just Dana. And for the first time in years, someone saw me. Our connection grew in the silence, in the stolen moments between lockdowns and head. A shared glance during inspection that lasted a second too long. A brief word exchanged at meal duty, our fingers brushing as she took her tray. Every second was a risk. a violation of every code I had sworn to uphold. But it was also the most real thing in my life. It filled a void in me I hadn't known existed. Then came the storm. The wind howled outside, and the rain hammered against the windows like angry fists. Suddenly, the lights flickered and died, plunging the entire facility into a disorienting darkness. I was stationed near Harper's block, the beam of my flashlight cutting through the black. I heard her voice, a soft whisper that seemed to come from right beside me. "Dana, are you there?" My training, my duty, everything screamed at me not to answer. But I did. "I'm here." She moved closer to the bars, a shadow in the gloom. My flashlight beam found her face, and we were inches apart, separated only by cold steel. "I don't know what this is," she whispered, her breath warm against the cool air. "But it's the first thing that's made me feel alive in years." My heart hammered against my ribs. A frantic drumbeat in the sudden quiet. "We can't," I started, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. "I know," she cut me off, her voice thick with an emotion I couldn't name. "That's what makes it real." And then, before I could pull back, I leaned in. She met me halfway, and her lips touched mine through the bars. It was a fleeting, desperate kiss, filled with all the unspoken words, all the forbidden longing, all the impossible hope. It was over in an instant. When the emergency lights flickered back on, we stepped apart, two strangers on opposite sides of the law, pretending nothing had happened, but everything had changed. After that night, the world looked different. The black and white lines of the rules had blurred into an impossible shade of gray. I started to see the cracks in the system, the injustice, the humanity lost within the walls. I saw the bars not as a barrier to keep society safe, but as a cage that held her. Harper was serving her final 6 months, and I counted every single day. It was a countdown to something I both feared and desperately craved. Then, one morning, I walked into her cell for the routine check, and it was empty, stripped bare. Her bunk was made, the floor was swept, it was sterile, as if she had never been there at all. My chest caved in. She'd been transferred early, good behavior. No goodbye, no final glance, just gone. The weeks that followed were a blur of hollow routine. I tried to forget to rebuild the walls, to be Officer Wells again. But every time I walked past cell 23, I could almost see her sitting there. And I saw her sketch of me, the one she somehow managed to slip under my desk in the guard station before she left. It was a constant, painful reminder. 3 months later, a letter arrived at my small apartment. There was no return address, just my name scrawled on the front. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a small note, the handwriting unmistakable. "You once said rules keep you safe. Maybe love's is supposed to break a few." H tucked inside was another sketch. This one was of two hands reaching for each other through prison bars. A year later, I wasn't Officer Wells anymore. I had left the force, left the rules and the bars behind me. I was walking through a small art gallery downtown, trying to find my own way, when I saw her. She was standing beside a wall of her paintings, free and vibrant and glowing with a light I'd only glimpsed in the dark. She saw me, and a slow, beautiful smile spread across her face. "Officer Wells," she said, her voice the same low hum I remembered. "Just Dana now," I replied. my own voice shaky. She reached out, and her fingers brushed against mine. No bars, no rules, no forbidden space between us. Just skin on skin. I kept drawing you, she whispered, her green eyes holding mine, because you never stopped seeing me as human. And in that moment, standing in the light, I let myself believe that love Ivan, a love born in the darkest of plagues, could be real, and it could be free. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you connected with it, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more stories that explore the lines we draw and the courage it takes to cross them. I'll see you in the next one.